Oh my goodness, that's the latest from the one and only Cody Jinks, and it's called Outlaws and Mustangs. Let's see what he's doing on this on the current chart. In a holding pattern at number 6 on the chart for only 11 weeks. So man, him getting the number 1 is looking really good. So we'll just wait and see what happens. He's got five above him that he's got to deal with. And then before that, let me ask Sarah Webb, what were you doing in 1990?
I was in middle school.
Oh no! I told you not to make me feel old.
Yeah, I was in junior high. I was playing volleyball and running track.
Oh no!
That was back when I was in shape.
I was in a 28-year stay at KGKL in San Angelo, and you know, Garth Brooks came out with Friends in Low Places that just escalated him way above the ionosphere, and I remember talking to him. I go, "What? Okay, now what are you gonna? How are you gonna follow this up?" And he goes, "Oh, I got a plan." I said, "Well, lay it on me." Well, he had gotten together with Pat Alger and Larry Bestain, and the three of them had co-written a song called "Unanswered Prayers." And so Garth went in the studio, recorded that next, followed Friends in Low Places up with another number 1 song, Unanswered Prayers.
Oh, that's a good song.
It is a good song, yep. That's more like the old Garth Brooks.
Right. I miss all the old country.
Back before he tore off with Shameless, and what in the world did he tear off? I mean, sometimes I just roll my eyes. What was it? Shameless and oh my goodness, Papa Loved Mama. That was an interesting song. That was interesting.
Thunder Rolls.
He wasn't hitting the brakes, he was shifting gears. When he flew into the motel room,
right,
in his truck.
He was going to kick some butt.
Oh yeah, he was serious butt. Can we say butt on the radio? I think we can.
I had to watch it because
Yeah, I think butt's in the green envelope. So.
Yeah. And my mom texted, "Woohoo, morning."
What's her name?
Anna Blake.
And where is she?
Denton, Texas.
Denton, Texas. Welcome in Denton, Texas.
She is tuned in. I got quite a few people. My twin brother in Wichita Falls is tuned in. My dad in Fort Worth is tuned in. My best friend, Wichita Falls, is tuned in.
Good.
So, and my ex-mother-in-law in Mississippi is tuned in.
Good. Glad
she likes the country music that we play here.
Oh, thank you. That's why we're here. I'm glad I got the stream fixed because it was down yesterday.
Oh, yeah, you got to get that fixed before I come on.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people out there that want to hear it.
Wasn't aware that it was down, and I logged into the computer that does the streaming. I was going to do something, and I couldn't log into it, and I went, this is not good. I whipped out my iPhone and checked the stream, and it was down. And I was like, I think I better run out there and see what's going on. And it was an easy fix. So
right.
Anyway.
Right. That's good.
Sarah Webb with us this morning. Sarah,
yes.
what all do you do for the city of Sonora?
Oh, I am the animal control officer, so I patrol the city and look for any animals running at large. We trap feral cats that are becoming a nuisance with their excessive breeding, or behaviors where they mark their territory and everything else. We trap those and get them removed from the area. Rabies Control Authority, any dog bite in the county, anywhere in the county, I'm the person that takes that report and make sure that the animal that did bite somebody or even an animal is been quarantined or sent in for rabies testing. And I am also Texas certified for cruelty investigator. So if there's any animal cruelty going on, I can investigate that and turn it over to local law enforcement for them to go ahead and proceed with charges if need be.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you a certified peace officer?
No.
Oh, you're
I'm
not? Okay.
I'm not.
So you turn that over to somebody else, right?
That would be me just taking the initial report and turning it over to local law enforcement, and then they would decide if
Turn it over to all your coworkers, right?
correct. All my coworkers, I think Sergeant Mercat is our CID. She would be in charge of whether or not to go ahead and pursue charges.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's how that goes. And a lot of times, most of the cases that I come across are considered what they call non-active.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a form of not knowing. And as long as I can educate the community and tell them, hey, this is where you're wrong, and it's against the law, so we need to correct this, and what do we need to do to fix this, and let's get this done. We are asking currently for people to help with building dog houses.
Okay.
Because
Wonderful.
dogs do need shelter in this
They
kind of
do.
weather.
Yes.
Even in the heat, they need some kind of shade.
Absolutely.
And so dog houses.
Lots of shade, lots of water.
Correct. And
If you
on
want to put ice in the water, you just go right ahead.
the last legislation 2 years ago, they passed the definition of shelter for a dog. So a dog has to actually be able to walk into the house, turn around while still standing erect, and comfortably be able to be in that dog house. So that is
Wonderful.
what is considered a proper shelter for an animal. I would like to give out a special thanks to Genesis Outdoors, because a friend of mine showed me how to build dog houses like a teepee using pallets, and Genesis was so kind that they delivered pallets to my house for
how
me to
about
work
that?
that out. So
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Kudos to them for helping me on that.
Yeah.
Because I do have somebody who's going to take those pallets and turn them into dog houses.
And that's good wood, too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. There's a couple pieces that you can tear off, but there's also other pieces of the pallets that we could, pallets that have been broken or whatnot might have still good wood, and we could take those pieces and put them. But it's a matter of just putting a piece of plywood on top of that base for the base, and then taking two pallets and piecing them together at an angle like a teepee, and covering the tops up and then the back side up, and you then can actually put straw inside the pallet on the sides for insulation for your dog. So I think that's an awesome idea.
Insulation and a cushion for the dog.
Right. And my friends, a great couple, the Mentors, they were the ones that told me, hey, just use pallets. They were using pallets to build dog houses for their dogs. So I was like, I never even thought of that. So I got my hands on some pallets, and I don't have a personal pickup truck, so I couldn't get them myself. So Genesis helped me out with that by
that's
having the
wonderful.
young
I
men over
appreciate
there
that. Thank you,
deliver them to
Genesis.
my house.
I remember when I had my little male beagle, Snuffy, Joe David Ross took good care of him. He was a veterinarian back then.
Right.
At the Sonora Animal Clinic, and boy, he took excellent care of Snuffy. And we built, my dad built it, and of course I helped, and we built him a palace for a dog house. And during the summer, we'd take all the the pieces off, and it had lots of airflow through it, so he could stay cool during the summer. And at night, 'cause he didn't stay in there during the daytime; he was only in there at night. And of course, in the winter, we'd put all the pieces back on, and it had a place for a heat lamp in there. And so that little dog was just spoiled rotten. And my dad had an old boot that he had thrown out. Well, Snuffy quickly acquired that and said it was his. So, well, okay, fine, that's fine. So I just pitched it in the doghouse, didn't think any more about it. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, Snuffy had woken up, and he wanted to play with that boot, so you hear wham, wham, wham. He was swinging that boot around inside the doghouse.
I'll tell you, dogs can be the darndest things. Dogs and cats. My cats sometimes keep me up.
Yeah.
One of my cats last night found something, and it was a little piece of plastic, and she kept, I guess she liked the way it felt on her teeth, and she kept chewing on it and gnawing on it, and it woke me up, and I was like, quit. I'm trying to sleep over here. I got work in the morning, Kitty.
Yeah, I get so tickled at because he knew his number one job was, his doghouse was right next to the chicken coop. He knew his number one job was to protect those chickens. Boy, you let one of them squawk, and he was right there going, what's the problem, and what do you want me to do about it?
Right. My daughter is trying to tune in, and she can't figure out. She's in Louisiana.
One of the family members will have to help her. All right, well, the reason why you're here this morning is because we've got
we had a couple of new bills that
new
passed
bills
into
that
law.
passed. Well, tell us about them.
All right, so This year, 8,046 bills were introduced to the 88th Texas legislation. 1,246 of those bills passed. 774 of those bills went into effect on September 1st.
Okay.
So I'm going to discuss the 5 bills that passed and went into effect on September 1st, that 2023, that affect dogs in the care of, or animals in the care of them. So first and foremost, kudos to our very own Senator Pete Flores, along with Representative Brad Buckley. They are the authors of Senate Bill 876, the Texas Licensed Breeders Law, also known as the Puppy Mill Bill. Under Texas Occupational Code 802, dog or cat breeders, the definition of a dog or cat breeder changed to now a person who possesses 5 or more adult intact female animals and is engaged in the business of breeding those animals for direct or indirect sale or for exchange in return for consideration. Those are what the definition is of a breeder now. So if you have 5 or more intact females and you are breeding them with the sole purpose of selling them or making some kind of exchange or whatnot, you need to register for a license in the state of Texas, period. Also, section...
And where do you do that? How do you do that?
You would go on to, I think it's under the Texas... I know you can Google this law and it'll give you those links.
Okay, so they got all the links there. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not anything you do locally, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, locally, if you live in a city, we already have an ordinance that you can't have 5 or more animals, and then you need to be licensed if you're breeding any of those animals. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So your animals need to be spayed or neutered if you're not breeding and don't have a license. Also, in that under that same law, Section 802.005 of the Occupational Code, the exemption for certain persons who breed special purpose dogs also has some changes. Under Section A3, they added, this section applies to a dog bred with the intent that it be used primarily for herding livestock as defined as Section 1.003 Agriculture Code and other agriculture uses, including hunting, including tracking, chasing, pointing, flushing, or retrieving game, or competing in field trials, hunting tests, and here's where it changed, breed or conformation shows or similar organized performance events. This doesn't mean that you're exempt from applying. You still have to apply, and then they come out and inspect, and they decide whether or not you're exempt from having to pay to breed.
Okay.
So even if you're a breeder that's just breeding for dogs that are for herding and other things, you still have to apply to see if you can be exempt.
Okay.
And then they decide on that. So I just want to make that clear that, there's some catches to these laws. You still have to follow the law, for breeding. So I also like to give kudos to Senator John Whitmire. Whitmire authored the original Texas licensed breeder law in 2011. And was eager to close loopholes in that law because they did take the number of animals down from 11 to 5.
Okay.
So that was a big change, and we were happy to see that change. So he also wrote the training law enforcement, enforcement to safely. I'm sorry. Back up, Sarah. He also did the canine encounter law, which is training for law enforcement to safely engage with pet dogs, that passed in 2015.
Okay.
And then during this past legislation in 2023, Senator Whitmire was the senator sponsor for House Bill 598 that passed under Texas Penal Code 42107. Possession of an animal by a person convicted of animal cruelty. So now, if you've been convicted, oopsie, I just lost that spot. So if you have previously been convicted for animal cruelty after September 1st of 2023, you commit an offense if you possess or exercise control over an animal within the 5-year period preceding the date of that offense. So once you've been charged with animal cruelty under any of the animal cruelty laws, which is 4209, 42092, and 4210, you are then not allowed to be in possession of another animal.
Okay.
So that's an amazing accomplishment there. And then 4164, he also assisted, and that is the fraudulent service animal law.
Okay.
So
Now, what does that entail?
so that means that a person commits an offense if the person intentionally or knowingly represents that an animal is an assistant animal or a service animal when the animal is not specifically trained or equipped to help a person with a disability. They can now be fined to fined up to $1,000 and do 30 hours of community service. So keep that in mind. If you are calling your emotional support animal a service dog, it is not the same thing. You cannot call an emotional support animal a service dog. They are not trained for anything other than for cuddles.
Okay.
So that was an awesome win.
And how do you go about getting a dog certified as a service animal?
They have to go through a lot of training and testing. I would not know where to begin on all that. That would be just something that I would have to Google all that information. That would be a lot.
Well, and then I guess I'm not so let me ask the next question. So once the dog successfully completes this, whatever it is, do you get like something to show when you walk into a place?
Yes,
and they say,
you do.
Okay.
You have a piece of paper or whatnot, and even when you walk into a place and your animal's supposed to be marked as a service dog, it should say, please do not pet, I'm at work. It should. I don't think that's a law, but it should really say all that. That way people know this dog is a working dog, it's doing a job, don't interfere with it. But the only there's like 2 legal questions that you're allowed to ask, and is it trained to do a task, and what's the task, I think is what the questions are. Is this a service animal? What is it trained to do? Those are the only questions. You can't ask them what their disability is. That's, so those are, some of the laws that, he helped with, and then, lastly, kudos to Senator Judith, let me see if I can say her name, Zaffrini, I think, for House Bill 3660, a bill that animal control organizations, trap, neuter, release providers, shelters, and humane societies alike have praised. Under Texas 42092, the cruelty to non-livestock animals, Section A, which is the definitions, number 9 was added defining what a trap, neuter, and release program is. And basically, that's, if you trap you're going to trap a feral cat, and you're going to neuter it, and then you're going to release it. Because before, the law was if you trapped a feral cat, it was then now considered domestic. And so it didn't look good for animal control officers and other people to be releasing these animals after, trapping them and then spaying them and neutering them. So now we have a law that protects that, to where we can now have a trap, neuter, and return program, and that controls the population, as well as that also they get vaccinated, so that controls rabies. So that's a good program. Lastly, on the bills that were passed, this last bill was House Bill 2063, Informed Consent on Overnight Boarding. So this bill was enrolled, and I had my little sticky note came out that it was in my book, marking it, so I have to go and pull it up. But it's Chapter 824 of Health and Safety Code, and so this it pretty much changed like a lot of stuff. So definitions in this chapter: fire protection sprinkler system has the meaning assigned by section 766.051. Kennel means a facility including a veterinary medicine clinic that provides boarding and related services to dogs or cats for breeding, sheltering, training, hunting, or similar purposes in exchange for compensation or other considerations. So, let me see here. Exemptions to applicability of chapter. These words. This chapter does not apply to an animal shelter as defined by Chapter 823 or a kennel that boards not more than 3 dogs or cats at any time. So 824.003, you're required informed consent for boarding or providing services to dog or cat to be left unattended. So basically, if you're leaving your animal at a facility overnight, you need to be signing a consent form if they're not going to be supervised. If somebody's not going to be in that facility 24/7.
Okay.
You know, that was a new law that just passed. So that was a change, that they now have to have a form and have people sign off stating that they understand and they give consent to have their dog or cat left overnight unattended.
Okay.
So.
All right.
And that was the laws that passed that affect me.
So the laws passed. Did Governor Abbott sign these?
These are all laws that were signed and went into effect
September
1st of 2023. Okay. And so I'm it's kind of my fault because usually I'm on around like before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving, before Christmas, I come on and I talk about all these, and I ended up sick like twice back to back a month apart.
Same here.
And so,
I think we were alternating when you and I was sick.
so I was down and out, and I just, I couldn't get in any time sooner.
We had lots of cooties running around.
Yeah. So I heard a lot of strep was going around, COVID, the flu. I mean, all kinds of things. Just things, so. But also want to remind people about trapping. Remember not to trap in inclement weather.
Okay.
If it's cold, wet. When it's cold and wet, what happens is the animal can die of hypothermia, especially if the wind is blowing.
Right.
So, you've got that feels like temperature that makes it a lot colder.
What about the weekend or holidays?
Weekend and holidays, close your traps unless you're going to take care of it yourself. It is illegal to release an animal out from the area that you trapped it. Over, I think it's a mile for skunks, and so don't be doing that. If you can't take it to an area that is giving you permission to release, that has a food source as well as a water source and shelter. So, because they need to be able to find shelter. Also, a reminder. Guess what? It's that time of year again. We're coming up on February. Skunk mating season is starting.
Oh, no.
And it goes in through mid-March. So, I just want to let everybody know the skunks are going to start moving more. Especially.
How long did you track the skunk that was in my neighborhood? I know you were looking and looking and looking. He was outsmarting you or she. He was outsmarting you.
He was, and I don't think I ever trapped him. He just
finally decided to move on, right?
He did. He finally decided, okay, this trash is whack, and I want something better. Y'all aren't cooking nothing good for me over here, or y'all are eating it all.
You're not being nice to me.
Right. So he went somewhere else. He went on.
Okay.
Or he found it. I'm pretty sure he found a different food source, water source, and shelter.
Yeah. That was welcome, because man, I tell you what, it was the worst time of night. Just when you're getting ready to relax and enjoy a restful night, and all of a sudden this odor fills the house, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is terrible.
Right, and my twin just responded that ada.gov, you can go to that for questions about service animal requirements.
Very good.
So there you go.
I answered that question.
Yeah, so if you want to, I know that we had somebody that used to live here that turned her dog into I think they are considered a service animal. It's one of those therapy dogs for court purposes and stuff like that. It can be done, with a regular pet. You can turn it into a dog assistant dog. So, it just takes a lot of training and a lot of hours and patience. And, I'm doing good to teach my dog sit, which he knows, but stay he does not know. And
he is selective on what he knows, right?
Yes, he is, and he follows me around, like, where are you going? Where are you going? I'm going to, and he's just really clingy to me. So
Sarah, I have to say this. This happened a couple of years ago, but was visiting some friends. This is when I lived in San Angelo, that had a son that was taking chemo, and he was in the children's hospital. Very unresponsive, just had no will to live.
Right.
It was so sad, and we were trying to figure out what in the world to try to do to bring him out of this slump that he was in.
Right.
Well, somebody brought up the idea, let's bring in a service animal, a service dog. So this this male Labrador retriever came into the room, and the little boy kind of opened his eyes, and looked, and he was like, and the dog put his feet up on the bed. Aww. And was just looking at this. Well, this little boy opened his eyes and looked at they made eye contact.
Right.
And all of a sudden, this grin comes on this little boy's face, and this little dog. I'm so emotional telling this. This dog responded to this little boy, and this little boy was able to just put his arms around this dog's neck and hug him. And they went on for about 30 minutes, and then it was time for the dog to move on to the next room. And next response out of that little boy's mouth was, "I'm hungry." Do you know he recovered?
Wow. I mean, dogs are an amazing thing.
He successfully completed his chemo. He went into remission, and today he's just as healthy as he's a grown man now. And just as healthy as he can be, all because of that service dog.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
We just didn't know what else to do.
Right. You're kind of like at your last straw, and that's the one that works.
That's when I saw firsthand what a service animal can do in a hospital situation.
Yep, it's amazing. The power of healing through animals and stuff, and just having that bond and that connection. So, I love what I do. I love all the animals that I get a kick out of some of the skunks. I've been sprayed, but it's funny because people don't realize, to sit back and watch a skunk one night out your window. Yeah. They're hilarious.
They are.
They are so funny, and it's like.
How many personalities have you seen? How many types of personalities have you seen in skunks?
A lot.
A lot.
It's like if you watch a bunch of little kittens or puppies and they all have their own little personalities. Skunks are the same.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And the only reason why people don't want to be around them is, they stink.
The stigma, yeah.
Or rabies. And I would like to remind the community, because I am the local rabies control authority, there is no such thing as rabies season. Rabies is a year-round, forever, non-changing virus. If you are bit by any animal, it is already a law that you need to report that because of, health and safety concerns. Right. There's no reason for a child or an adult to die of rabies. It happens every year still to this day.
I know.
And there's no reason for it. There is treatment before, once the virus actually takes hold, there is no cure. But there is treatment before that to stop the you actually becoming infected. So, I just want everybody to keep that in mind. There is no such thing as rabies season. Yes, it slows down in the winter because, the animals tend to hunker down, but we have not had a harsh winter at all. Yeah. I have a skunk in a trap right now that I have to go pick up today. And that's why I want people to be sure to be mindful of the weather, because I don't pick up skunks until between 4 and 5. Because if I get sprayed, well, Yeah. And then somebody calls me for something else, and I show up, and I
you're not welcome, are you?
Right, and people can't talk to me about things if I'm smelly like a skunk. So I try to pick them up between 4 and 5.
Good idea.
That way people in the community can still approach me and discuss their concerns or problems or whatever, or give me kudos. I don't, I'm not objective to those either. So so I just, want to make everybody, keep that in mind and be aware of what the weather is going to be like before setting your personal traps, and make sure that if you don't want to have to deal with it yourself, make sure you're not setting traps on holidays or the weekends. So, before we had it to where you couldn't trap on Fridays, well, now you can, since I am now certified to euthanize animals as needed. So, we used to cut off trapping on Thursdays, and I'd pick up all my traps or whatnot. So now we still continue to trap through Friday, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So as long as there's no holidays.
Right.
So,
okay.
or the weather. This time of year is hard to trap because the weather, one day it's raining, the next day it's cold, then it's hot. But I can't set a trap for a skunk if I know the next day it's going to be, 15 degrees. So keep that in mind that mating season is starting. Make sure that your house is secure. Your house should be secure year-round anyway, because you don't want critters getting underneath your house and making it a home and having all their little pups up underneath your house. Yep. Or kittens. They call them kits and pups, I think, depending on the animal. With skunk mating season, also keep in mind that also means fox mating season is starting soon or has already started. So you might see more foxes. Foxes help keep down the squirrel population. So if you have a problem with rock squirrels, keep that in mind that foxes do eat squirrels. So it's a whole balancing of the, as long as you don't see a fox acting funny, foxes are good climbers. They will climb a tree. They will climb a wooden fence. As long as they are holding their balance and not falling over or anything like that, then there's no need to be concerned. Sometimes foxes and skunks will come out during the day, especially during this time of the year that it's mating season, and even after when they have their pups and kits, they will be out. The male usually is the one out collecting food for the mother.
But any other time would not be good.
Right. Midsummer, I would not want to see either one of those animals in the middle of the day.
Right.
But during this time of the year, it can be normal. Just be mindful to keep your distance from any wildlife.
Just watch the animal.
Right. Just watch it and observe.
In my case, it was all, of course, the biologist told me, like you, told me what to look for. But it was always pretty evident within about a minute whether that animal was just moving from one place to another, or whether there was actually a problem. And it's pretty easy to see.
Right, and there was a morning where I was out patrolling, and nobody had called it in, and I was pretty shocked. But I was out making my rounds, and a lot of people know what my rounds are because it's the same one over and over again. If I pass by your house, I've passed by everybody's house the same amount of times. Count it. It's probably a lot. But I was making my rounds first thing that morning, and I saw a skunk in the draw. And I stopped, and I watched him, and he was just walking in circles, over and over again. And I approached him, and, of course, I had to euthanize him, send him in, have him tested. He did test negative for rabies, but even a skunk walking in circles, and they come back negative for rabies, there's a possibility it was distemper. Right. So, be mindful when you do vaccinate your dogs, yearly, every 3 years, depending on where you live. Be mindful to consider distemper parvovirus as well, because you don't know 100% what is coming through your yard. And I think all it is the drinking water. If another animal drinks that water or even defecates in your yard, your animal could be exposed. So, be sure that, you're also thinking of other viruses out there. My dog gets vaccinated yearly for rabies, distemper, parvo.
Was,
Yeah. And my cats get vaccinated yearly as well for
Of course, Snuffy was
leukemia.
a ranch dog, so that was a little different category, but still.
Right.
I really actually tend to think, it's just as important to get a ranch dog, make sure they're current on their vaccinations,
Right.
as it is for a city dog.
Right. There is a law that passed. It doesn't affect me because I'm in the city, but it's a county law for ranch dogs. That the law pretty much protects if you live in an area that has a running at large law for the whole county for animals. And you have ranch animals, a ranch dog, the new law protects those dogs from that law.
Okay.
Because they are running at large for a reason. A governmental requirement of a city relating to the restraint of a dog that would apply to an ag operation does not apply to a dog used to protect livestock on property. So that law passed this year. That was a new change. So our ranchers would be happy to hear that, I'm sure, even though the county does not have a running at large law at this time. So, but the city does. And so, but that law is to protect ranchers and their dogs. So I think that's an awesome thing that passed.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Sarah, if someone's listening, either on 92.1 or on the World Wide Web, and they have a question for you, how can they get a hold of you?
They can call the Sonora Police Department. It's always mess this up, but I'm not. 325-387-3888.
Very good.
And usually our lovely Melissa Fuentes, who is our admin there, will answer your call and direct. Sometimes she can answer the questions because I tell her about all these laws and, just I'm filling her head with all this information. Sometimes she can answer it. Sometimes she'll put you on hold if I'm in the building and get me to answer it. And other times she'll take your name and number, and I will return your call with any answers that I find. It's best to leave a brief explanation. That way I can look that up for you.
Right.
If it's a question about laws or whatnot.
You can do your research before you call them back.
Right. That way I'm well informed of what they're wanting to find out and help with that. Any answers that I can come up with for them.
Okay.
So, but yes, so that's all the laws.
Thank
there
you,
was
Sarah.
5 that changed for me.
Yeah.
So, and for the better. So,
yeah. Hopefully
that doesn't make too many people upset to hear the new laws. I think they're great laws that passed, and I'm just thrilled that our own senator wrote the changes for the
neat.
breeders' law. So it's just awesome.
Okay.
So
very good. Well, I'm sitting here looking at my computer. We've been talking about dogs, and in 2011. Harley Allen and Scotty Emmerich, 2 seasoned songwriters, sat down and co-wrote a song called Like My Dog. They shopped it around, and Billy Currington picked the song up and said, yep, I'll take it. And he went in the studio, recorded it. It was released to radio October 10th of 2011. Went all the way to the top of the Billboard Country Singles chart.
Well, nice.
So I'm wondering if we should follow this program with Billy Currington, Like My Dog.
Or we could do Old Red, because that guy got away because Old Red wasn't neutered.
I don't even want to go there. No. Sarah, thank you so much for coming in and updating us on everything. And please continue to do that.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, here's Billy Currington from 2011, and it's called, this song's got an interesting twist to it. Some of it may be good, some of it may be bad. But evidently, a lot of people liked it because it did go all the way to the top of the Billboard chart. There it is, Like My Dog.